Hi, this is Sergeant Beast Larson. Welcome to CO Life, part 6.5. Part 6, I talked about dorm life, kind of to an extent, but I really didn't talk about how it's like to work and the inmates to live in a tier unit, in an ISO SEG unit. Down there in Georgia, we called them tiers, Tier 1 and Tier 2. Tier 1 was a temporary 30-day, and then go back to general population if things were okay, your behavior was okay, and you met all requirements. If you didn't, and you advanced, you went to Tier 2, which was up to 2 years. So what was it like to work in a tier unit? Well, I supervised as a sergeant in both. They're a little bit different just because the one is short-term and one's long-term. So I'm gonna kind of talk about the short-term one first. And also I wanna tell you, working at a county facility, the ISO SEG unit there, it had about 45 beds, I believe, if I remember correct. And there they usually would have one inmate, maybe one inmate per day, kind of get out of control or have any issues. But for the most part, it was smooth sailing. They were just one-man cells. They just separated for whatever reason, hazard, risk, they need to be isolated for protection, protective custody issues, what have you. It was pretty calm. It was nothing like prison. So let me tell you about our Tier 1, our 30-day program. Get there first thing in the morning, let's say a day shift. Breakfast is just getting done. I go find the night sergeant and ask him, how was feed off? They give us a briefing, feed off was pretty good. We're missing this, we're missing 8 trays, we're missing 1 tray. We fed, we haven't picked up trays. We're short-staffed and behind. Our guys jump in and we help, and we just all go and pick it up, get it all done in 10 minutes. So you get the brief, you find out whose behavior issues. Now, and in this, we had a D2, which was protective custody, and then Echo 1 and 2. So if you've got about 128 inmates, things going crazy, they're in and out, in and out. A lot of them know they're going to go back within a week to general population. So it's a lot of this childish, young, immature, adolescent behavior. A lot of this hyper, up and down, wiry kind of mentality they have. I can do no wrong. I can do this. I can get out. I'll just snitch on this and I'll get out. So you get through the breakfast, you get stuff taken care of. In the meantime, while you're doing this, you got to keep in mind that there's door charts have to be signed. And you have to visually, as a supervisor, you need to go through and visually inspect and make sure every inmate is alive and okay. So there's a lot that's going to get done in that first half an hour. Once you get through your chow and the needs are met, your relief is went home, the other shift, you get with your guys, you talk to them, say, here's the plan for the day, here's what I know. Unit manager, lieutenants brought this down. We may have the telepsych visits where they come down with a laptop, put them in an office, which means you have to cuff them in their cell, take them to an office, they watch the laptop, talk to the psychiatrist. We talked about this in the other video. But you plan out if you've got any of those, any dental, any medical that needs to go up. And as you're planning this, these guys that are bored, these inmates, and they come up with, from 128, well, I'll say about 100 because the protective custody guys didn't normally do this. But you've got a couple strip cells that are on camera to monitor for, suicidal or whatever, specific issues. You're always going to have 2 to 5 acting out. I didn't get this for breakfast, I want this. Then they start, when I'm break off sprinkler head, I'm going to do this. Now this is 6:30 in the morning. They want to break sprinkler, they want to squirt urine or feces at you. So now you're shifting gears, you just got your to-do list, or you're waiting for a to-do list, and then, then they come down and, hey, we can't do this now, Lieutenant, unit manager, we got this going on. I've tried to talk to him. He wants this, he wants that, he's making demands, slamming stuff. He's assaulted his cellmate or whatever. All this stuff goes on. So here's the game they play. And it's not necessarily a gang thing, it's a game thing. They take turns and they talk and they plan. They, as these, inmates, who's going to do what on what day on what time. And they always start something at shift change. So when you're coming in, and the rule was whatever happened prior to your shift, they need to finish it. So I go in the morning, 6 a.m., If they got somebody bucking the flap, which is the feed tray, you know, it's that rectangular box, you know, they're locked, officer, supervisor have key, open it, put the food in, come out. On tray pickup, bucking the flapping problem, the night shift needs to handle it. Well, they're going to call their lieutenant, who's going to talk to the day shift lieutenant, my lieutenant. They're going to talk and agree, well, day shift will handle it. I'll go down and talk to him. So my lieutenant would come down, talk, and then the guy's bucking the flap, meaning his arm's out of the hole, and he pulls it back in, and he's like, oh, I was just upset, I'm sorry. So just when you think you've got that under control, one of the GP dorms will call lieutenant, or they'll call and say, we got somebody putting herself on the door. So say now it's 7 o'clock in the morning, they haven't even got people out for details yet, and you got somebody put herself on the door. They grabbed their bag and stuff from chow, ran out to the sally port in between the 2 locked doors of the dorm, and they're locked in there. I'm in fear for my life. So now we have to take them down and put them in this tier 1 in the Echo building. So you got to get them, you got to get their property, get them in. You got to put them in the shower or these new cages that we had built and brought in, put them in there. So now they're in the middle. So imagine, you know, if you're looking at your cell phone or a computer, you know, it's rectangle. That's the shape of the dorm. Imagine in the center of that putting 6 cages. So whoever's in there, and their cages, they're metal so that they can't get out. You know, it's thicker than chicken wire. You get the idea, right? So now they're in there. So now you've got all the inmates in that dorm are going to start yelling, you know, the peanut gallery thing, to start cussing at them, start talking. Then there's the gang talk, then there's the tough talk, and you wait till I get out of here, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. So now we'll say it's by 7:30 in the morning, you look at your watch and you're like, 7:30. Chow's done, we've had a problem with this guy, we got that resolved. Somebody put themselves on the door, now we got them in the cage. You know, unit manager will be coming in any minute now. If not, he's already called you on the phone. And you're thinking 9 o'clock inspection, the warden will be around. So you're trying to figure out, I got to get on the computer, find out this guy, what his problem is, what gang affiliation he is, how can I pair him up? This is a sergeant. The officers don't have to worry about placing them, but they're along for this whole process though. Then you got to get him placed, and then you say, okay, well, I can put him over here. We'll say E1 108. You go over there, and they're not the same gang, but one of them is a civilian and the other gang member. You go over, and he says, I can't go in. Why not? I can't go in with that. I'm afraid that gang's got a hit on me. They got this on me. They got that. Or I'm a homosexual, or he's a homosexual, and I can't bunk with that. This is what you're going to hear. These are just the facts. So if you think you want to work in a tier unit, you really need to be watching this and pay attention. So now you got this refusing to go in. So then what you're told by the lieutenant, if the inmate already inside the cell is refusing him to go in, then you tell him to pack up and you remove him out and then put the guy that was in the cage in there. Then you have to find room for the other guy. Well, they're going to do this on purpose to make you make an extra move. They also want to get out hoping to get closer. And then they'll say, well, hey, Sarge, I can live, you know, I'm same as a guy up here in 208. I can go live with him. So you have to put him in the cage and you go look and you're thinking, well, if he's the same affiliation, gang affiliation, I can, and they agree I can put him up there. But you got to have the history in your head. You have to know these inmates. Are they up to something? Is it a scam, you know, for something later about to happen? Or, you know, legitimately you can move them, but is it in your best interest to not have problems later? So you're always thinking about past, present, and future when you're dealing with inmates. What have they done? What's going on right now? And what does the future look like for them? How are they going to change or behave once they go from point A to point B? So you figure this out, you get them there. All the meantime, you've got to let your dorms know, you know, D2 and E1, E2. Now, if you're in tier 2, it's the same troubles, only there's 208 beds. There's more beds, more inmates. They're all playing all of this game. It's like a 6-hour shift in 2 hours. So you're happy by the time that the warden and the CERT team comes around because things will settle down during inspection. But you got to have your door charge caught up while you've been dealing with all these people and all these moves. So it's like non-stop. I mean, you know, on the Apple Fitbit watches, you know, we're walking 15, 18,000 steps a day if you're working a tier unit. Non-stop, up and down stairs, up and down the sidewalk. So now you get through inspection, and unlike GP, you know, they're not standing out state dress. They have to be in the back. We talked about this. So we go through, very, very few times there would be issue. The warden would come through, or you know, his staff, deputy warden, they talk to whatever they need to. It was much quicker than a GP inspection, and then they're done. And once they're done, and these guys are down to the boxers and everything, because they're confined to their cell, they're not coming out. So they don't stay state dressed, and they don't care. You know, the tier 2 is basically the same thing. Once inspection's done, that's it. Inspection might get done. He may start GP, not get around till 10 o'clock. So maybe 10:15 inspection's done. Guess what happens at 10:30? It's about chow time. So when the tiers are locked up, you're not announcing it because you're not taking them anywhere. So, you know, we get our count, we have our count, and the count time happens throughout the day. I didn't mention that during all this chaos, you had to stop all of this for count. So count's done, inspection's done, it's time for chow time. So you get your list, the cafeteria's already called on, talk to one of the people in the control booth. They've got their number, the magic number, how many trays they need. Then as a sergeant, I'd go up, or sometimes the officer would go up, take an orderly or two, and they go up there, get the food and come down, you start feed off again. Lunch feed off pretty much went smooth, the smoothest of the day. They really don't want to start because they know you have all afternoon to mess with them. Mess with them meaning handle them, deal with them, you know, extract them if need be. So usually lunch, by this time, they were exhausted themselves. So they get their lunch, you know, go around, pick up the trays, keep on doing door charts, trays, door charts. You get this all done. You still have some doctor appointments to go, or nurse or whatever, or maybe it's to the point you don't. And you're thinking, man, I finally can get a break. I can sit down and eat. You're ready to eat. Say it's 1 o'clock, 1:05, here comes Lieutenant. Hey, it's nice out. We got to put some people on yard. Hey, Lieutenant, we just sitting down taking a few minutes to eat. We need to hurry up. We got to get them on the yard. Take 5 minutes and go. So now all of a sudden, you know, your lunch break, whatever you brought, is about 10 minutes long. Then you got to double up, 2-man escort, start putting people out there in the yard. Well, when you start to go putting people on the yard, the inmates start thinking, hey, it's time for somebody to act up again. It's your turn. And it's already planned. Then they start doing something. Then they start yelling. They'll start kicking the door. Just like that, kicking the metal. And start stomping the door. And then they'll stop. And then somebody else will do it. And then they'll stop. But if you're trying to escort inmates out for yard, you got to stop. Go find out what the problem. Make sure there's not a medical emergency or something. So they're doing this to take away and distract, because it's not their turn to go outside. Their goal is to cause chaos in your whole shift. You figure it out, you get them to stop kicking, you get a bunch of inmates in the cages for the yard, and then all of a sudden, hey, we got to get them back in for chow. So now you got to turn around and quickly gather as many officers as you can, make it, you know, the 2-on-1 escort, get them all back in, you get them settled down. Now there's about a 50-50 chance on yard and in the segregation units of having to use of force. It really is that much. By the time you move all those people, one of them's going to do something. One of them's going to refuse, one of them's going to put their arms up, brace yourself, block, one of them will do something. So now you get them back in, say nothing happened that day, now you're getting ready for dinner. You let the officers know, hey, everybody's in for yard. You know, hey, I'm going up to get the trays. I'll be back. That lets everybody know. Go take a potty break if you need one. Get a drink of water, whatever you've put in the refrigerator. You know, take 5 minutes, 10 minutes. That's about how long it takes me to go to the chow hall. Make sure I have the right number of trays, the special diet trays, all the individual needs I need. Then we walk it back. Then we start to pass it out. And then you're thinking, now, okay, it's 2:30, 3 o'clock. All I got to do is get to 6 o'clock and this day's done. But you already felt like you've worked a 24-hour shift by now. If you don't carefully plan meals and snacks, healthy stuff through the day, none of this monster stuff. Monsters and cigarettes don't get you through the day. You need some good protein spaced out through the day, some good carbs, a little bit of energy to keep you going through the day, plus a good night's sleep the night before. Now you're ready for dinner chow. So we go around, you got your orderlies, we got gloves on, the officers are the ones that are feeding, you go through. Now this is where things are about to happen. And now we work 12-hour shift. You've already been there 6 a.m. to 9 o'clock. I mean 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. That's 9 hours. You've already worked 9 hours. 3 more to go, and it's the hardest 3 of your day. So you start to feed off, and you break it down. I'm going to get through this, the bottom left. Okay, I got through it, not a problem. Get through the bottom right. You're thinking one section at a time. And you get the top, then you get the other side of the top. Then you're like, okay, now I got through the feed off, I'm all right. You're giving a couple minutes or 5 minutes, or you're ready to start back down where you're picking up where you started feeding. They're done eating by then. You know, a good 5 minutes have passed. They're hungry. They're going to eat quick, and there's not a lot of food. So you start to pick up, and you start to, you know, when you're new, working in a tier unit like this, you start breaking it down to, hey, if I got 32 doors, you get through this one, I got that tray, you shut it and lock it. Okay, now I got 31, now I got 30. And you so on and so forth, you're going down. In your mind, you're having that anxiety and anticipation of something bad happening. Something bad meaning when you go to get the tray, maybe the tray has feces on it and try and flip it up in your face. Or they squirt it at you. Or maybe they've got a weapon, or maybe they reach out and try and grab your hand or try and punch you. Because you're close, you're this close, right there, reaching in to grab it, pull your tray back. I mean, it's right here, waist level, anything can happen. They can throw anything out, reach out, throw a bottle at you, throw milk at you. You just don't know what's going to happen. So for new guys, you have an anxiety. For guys that's worked the tier for a while, a period of time, you know, which they can settle down in 90 days or they can settle down, you know, 180 days for an officer to build that confidence and comfort. Then they don't start counting, you know, this way, the bottom left, the bottom right. They're not counting cells down. They're just picking them up. They've already established to the inmates a reputation, firm, fair, and consistent. They've already established this, so the inmates know what's going on. But still, even if you're experienced or you're an experienced supervisor, even if they respect you or fear you, when they want to do something stupid, they're doing it, period. An inmate wants to do whatever. Maybe you get through chow and you're like, okay, chow's done, that's it. All I got to do is finish out charts, wrap the day up. You go around, start doing charts, water comes rushing out from the cell. They flooded the cell. Or they'll start hitting on their inmate. They're not really hurting them, but they're play fighting to make it look real fighting. They want to do something, they're going to do something around 5:15 in the afternoon because they know it's going to take time. They know the lieutenant's just finished count, your last count. He's got a bunch of paperwork. He doesn't want to get up and have to come down there and deal with this. He's got all his closing paperwork for the shift to do. Inmates know all this stuff. They know everything. The saying goes, you want to know who gets promoted? Ask an inmate the morning of the interviews. They already know who's going to get promoted. If anything happens important, inmates already know. Inmates already know your job and know your day and your routine. And they know when it's count time. They know when it's doing chart time. They know when you're walking around. But in all of this, I haven't mentioned anything about the four to 10 inmates that are screaming and kicking the door, yelling about sheets and linen or their laundry that didn't get messed up. Or there's 2 of them sometime during all of this chaos beating on the door saying, hey, I don't have any toilet paper. I haven't had toilet paper in 5 days. That's going to happen. Somebody else is going to need something. Somebody's going to stop up their toilet. You're going to have to go and get the other extra key, open up the hatch in between, get in there, recycle their water, get it going for them. That's 10, 15 minutes out of your day. And then they're going to talk, it's not working yet, my sink's not working. So they're going to have you one thing to another. Here's the other thing I haven't mentioned either. They're going to try and run you to death. Hey, can you give this pencil over here? He doesn't have a pencil, he's writing his mom a letter. Well, writing a mom a letter makes it sound nice and sweet and innocent, but it's not. It's not innocent. He's trying to be tedious. And hey, I got a Bible. It's just a Bible, Sarge. Can you let him read a Bible? Can you let him read this book? You know, and you tell them, you got to establish and have a rule. I'm not passing this stuff. I'm not passing stuff. If it's reading material, we're not busy, you can say, hey, anybody got anything reading? I'll pass it. I got 10 minutes. That's it. No passing a day. Or maybe the lieutenant wants you to have phones and running phones in there. So during all of this day, you have to organize moving phone upstairs and a phone downstairs. Do you get the idea of the chaos yet that I'm talking about? Things go from one to the other, to the next, to the next. 3 or 4 things on a to-do list, 3 or 4, turns into 10 And we need some toes, because you're going to end up walking 15 to 18,000 steps, 20 things on your to-do list. We got to move here, move there. Now, I didn't mention that maybe at lunch, CERT team locked up 2 or 3 people. They're bringing them down to the tier unit. Now you got to find a place for them. You got to get the property. You got to call down the dorm, have a dorm officer, inventory it, fill out the inventory sheet. And this stuff tends to happen after 5 o'clock. So while you've got your guy at 5:15 flooding, and you got to get guys to get the suits on because CERT team's busy, you got to round up officers to do that. The sergeant, I have to also, have the landline from the building control booth call down here and say, hey, I need this property up here. We're going to do an extraction, but I need you to bring the property up, set it by the door with the inventory sheet. I need this. You guys can't go home until it's done, and we can't either. We have to place them. So now 5:45, if you look on some of my photos, you see me in the black gear, extraction gear, riot gear. 5:45, instead of me kicking back, trying to drink me a nice water or Diet Coke and relax with the last little bit of snack I have, I'm geared up, knowing that I still have to do property, get inmates in here, do this extraction, do this use of force, report, gather up statements from the officers who want to go home and not write statements. Then I got to have cameras. I got to download footage with the lieutenant. And I had a good lieutenants plural. They were good. They would do that. If I helped with the paperwork, they would do the video for me. It was a give relationship there. We helped each other. Does that sound like a good day? And every day I worked a tier unit, 2 years as a sergeant. Every day was like this, nonstop. Thousands of steps, craziness every single day, many extractions, many use of forces happen in these tier units. This stuff, it was organized and planned as a chaos. And you think what happens on the streets in America right now in 2020 is not planned? What you see in the streets when all this started with George Floyd and continues now even until October, it's October 31st, all this stuff now in Portland going crazy this week, that's what it's like working in a tier unit in a prison. The streets out there is like the prison inside. That's the chaos. So that hopefully this will shed a little bit of light to you. I've kept this down, no personal stories. It's already 22 minutes. No stories involved in all this. I tell them as I go. But this is just to outline what a day is like. You go home tired, exhausted, uniform dirty. Sometimes you've changed it. Your second uniform's all dirty. You're just like, I cannot believe it. You have that look, exhaustion. Then you got to drive sometimes 30 minutes to an hour, hour and a half, some guys, to get home, eat dinner, and they just want to fall in bed and collapse. I know that sounds, the last minute might sound bad. However, the reward, to get reward and get success, comes hard work. So when you work for this and you establish and you build this, you chose this career, you're enjoying what you're doing. When you sit back at nighttime and you sit back in that like this and got your cell phone and you're flicking, playing a little game or something, some Candy Crush, leaning back, your head's like this, you start to nod off. Be proud of yourself for what you did. This series, CO Life, is to help you to learn, to train, to get ideas, formulate ideas before things happen. Come up with strategies, anticipate the bad, so you can enjoy your day at work. That's the goal of this series, not scaring anybody off. So I hope you like this. Hit the like, hit the share. Don't forget to subscribe. Tell your buddies, tell the new cadets, the new officers. Tell them about this page. Tell them about my YouTube channel, Sergeant Beast Larson. Tell them about this series. There's a series called CO Life. There's another playlist, it's a playlist on YouTube that's called Correction Officer Training. There's another one called Improving Officer Civilian Survival. There's fitness motivation on here, trying to motivate you, trying to get you in the right mind and physical and emotional, mind, body, and spirit to enjoy the career that you chose and has chosen you. Over 30 years I did this. Can you tell I like it? Instead of being retired and kicking back, just working, doing whatever, taking quiet, easy life, I'm constantly making videos, posting things, chatting, talking with new people that I go to the academies. I messaged and talked with some this morning. A guy just said it finished his second week in the academy. He's out west. You got 9 more weeks to go in a correction academy on a state level prison. So I congratulated him. I talked. I said nice things to him. I invited him to check out the channel and to share this. I'm doing this to help protect us that wear that uniform and badge. I don't have one on right now. Not today, not in this job. But I've done many years, 30 plus years. And I want you to be as safe as I was. So I hope you enjoy all these. There's many, many more to come. See you soon.